But we begin with Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who's working with fellow South Carolina Senator Tim Scott on a compromise. Senator Graham, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Happy anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you. What are the chances that we are going to see a compromise on police reform before May 25th, the first anniversary of George Floyd's murder? And how far are you and other Republicans prepared to go on lifting the immunity for police officers and lowering the standard for prosecutions?
Well, number one, we'd had police reform in the last Congress, but Chuck Schumer and Kamala Harris made a conscious effort to block bringing up Tim Scott's reform bill. They filibustered Tim Scott's bill because they didn't want Tim Scott and President Trump to get credit for it. There's no reason we shouldn't have done it last time. We'll try again. Qualified immunity is a very big deal. If you want to destroy policing in America, make sure that every cop can be sued when they leave the house. So there's a way to find qualified immunity reform. Take the cop out of it. My idea, along with Senator Scott, is you can't sue the police officer. You sue the department if there's an allegation of civil rights abuse or constitutional right abuse. We can solve that problem. We can solve the issues if there's will to get there, and I think there's will to get there on part of both parties now.
So you think there's a pretty good chance by May 25th you'll have a deal?
Yeah, qualified immunity. Yeah, I hope so. Tim is the leader on this. His package is bipartisan. Qualified immunity is a problem. I've been working with Senator Whitehouse. It's a pretty simple solution. Don't sue the police officer, sue the police department so the cop doesn't have to worry about losing his house and his entire, car and everything else that comes with being a police officer.
Senator, after Derek Chauvin was convicted of murder this week, President Biden said this. Take a look.
It was a murder in the full light of day, and it ripped the blinders off for the whole world to see. And this takes acknowledging and confronting head-on systemic racism.
Senator, is there systemic racism in this country in policing and in other institutions?
No, not in my opinion. We just elected a two-term African-American president. The vice president is of African-American Indian descent. So our systems are not racist. America is not a racist country. Within every society, you have bad actors. The Chauvin trial was a just result. What's happening in Ohio, where the police officer had to use deadly force to prevent a young girl from being stabbed to death, is a different situation in my view. So this attack on police and policing, reform the police, yes, call them all racist, no. America is a work in progress, but best place on the planet, and Joe Biden spends a lot of time running the place down. I wish he'd stop it.
We are coming up this week on Joe Biden's 100th day in office. As you know, of course, he's going to give that big speech to Congress. You have said this week that you believe that Biden's campaign was a fraud on the country because of how differently he is governing. But during the campaign, Senator, he did talk about big changes in infrastructure and racial inequality and a number of other issues. So why is it a fraud?
Well, during the campaign, he made us all believe that Joe Biden would be the moderate choice, that court packing was a bonehead idea. All of a sudden, we got a commission to change the structure of the Supreme Court, making D.C. a state. I think that's a very radical idea that will change the makeup of the United States Senate. AOC said his first 100 days exceeded her expectations. That's all you need to know. I like Joe Biden, but I'm in the 43%. He's been a disaster on foreign policy. The border is in chaos. The Iranians are off the mat. He's opening up negotiations with the Iranian regime, and they haven't done a damn thing to change. Afghanistan's going to fall apart. Russia and China are already pushing him around. So I'm very worried. I think he's been a very destabilizing president, and economically he's throwing a wet blanket over the recovery, wanting to raise taxes in a large amount and regulate America basically out of business. So I'm not very impressed with the first 100 days. This is not what I thought I would get from Joe Biden.
I want to pick up on one of your last points there. You say that you believe that this president and Democrats in Congress have been involved in a power grab, but I think they would push back by saying, look, we passed COVID relief without a single Republican vote in either the House or the Senate. And as we talk now about infrastructure and social programs that the president is proposing, would you, or do you know of any Republican who would support paying for that by raising taxes on either corporations or the wealthy?
Well, I don't think the pay-fors that they have are going to sell to the Republican Party, but if you want some good news on the 25th anniversary of your show, there's probably an $800 to $900 billion infrastructure bill that we could all agree on. Joe Manchin has a pay-for. I'm not going to raise corporate taxes to 28%. At the end of the day, I'm willing to not pay for some of the infrastructure spending because I think it over time pays for itself. We're not going to do a couple $1 trillion. 85% of it's got nothing to do with infrastructure, but I think there's a bipartisan compromise coming about. Watch Joe Manchin. Joe's going to be a key player here. I met with him a couple of days ago. I think there's a sweet spot on infrastructure where we can find pay-fors that won't hurt the economy. If you raise taxes now, you're going to destroy jobs.
I got less than a minute left here, Senator, but you say Joe Manchin's talking about raising corporate taxes not to 28%, but from 21% to 25%. The Republican plan doesn't have any tax increases in it.
Right.
Are you willing to go for a corporate tax increase to 25%?
I'm going to talk to Joe about it. I want to make sure it doesn't hurt the economy. We're competing with the world writ large. A lot of the money we spent for COVID had nothing to do with COVID that is unspent. We can direct some of that to infrastructure. This $1.9 trillion package you talked about didn't get one Republican vote because it was just unrelated to COVID, most of it, and 6 bills were passed bipartisan before Biden came in. So there's a willingness to be bipartisan on COVID, but it's got to be related to COVID. So yes, there's a deal to be done on infrastructure, I think.
Senator Graham, thank you. Thanks for your time. Always good to speak with you. You've been a good friend of this show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.